Today, 4th September 2024, we are going to discuss editorials of The Hindu. Apart from editorials of The Hindu, we will be discussing one article from Live Mint. Without further delay, let's start our discussion. This article, what India should follow on artificial intelligence governance, how India must shape this artificial intelligence governance. This article is discussed in detail. You can cover this article from GS paper 3 technology, even GS paper 2 polity point of view also. The summit for future, it will be held on September 22nd, 23rd, on 2024th. It is a decisive movement for global diplomacy, even international norm bidding process in the sphere of artificial intelligence. During this summit, world leaders, stakeholders, they will come together under United Nations to advance global digital compact. What is this global digital compact? Global digital compact, this aim to build a collaborative multi-stakeholder framework. What it will do? It addresses the digital divide. It advances sustainable development goals. How many goals are there under sustainable development goals? 17 numbers. These things to be achieved by 2030. Even create secure and inclusive digital environment. If you see, crucially, it seeks to strengthen the international governance of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, and it will ensure they align with fundamental rights and values of the different countries. As digital technology, they shape our societal and geopolitical landscapes. It is very important for India to not only engage but also actively shape international understanding on governance related to artificial intelligence. What is this geopolitical contestation happening about artificial intelligence governance? Parallel to this global digital compact, United Nations General Assembly adopted recently two key resolutions. Who proposed these resolutions? One is by United States of America, another one is by China. USA told in its resolution, safe, secure and trustworthy artificial intelligence for sustainable development. So basically, it advocates harmonized approach on artificial intelligence governance, and it encourages member countries to develop shared ethical principles, data protection measures, even transparency standards also. What do you mean by this promotion of harmonized approach? By promoting this harmonized approach, United States of America, they want to assert dominance in artificial intelligence technology, and they want to dictate terms of development worldwide. On the other hand, second resolution was proposed by China. They told enhancing cooperation on capacity building of artificial intelligence. What it will do, it focuses on equitable benefits from artificial intelligence development. They bridges digital divide, even promote open and non-discriminatory business environment. What do you mean by this equitable benefits from artificial intelligence development? Suppose say developed country, they have all the technology, they have even huge financial resources also. They can develop any technology they want. But when it comes to developing or underdeveloped country, they cannot follow all these artificial intelligence, machine learning, these technologies. So there should be an equitable platform wherein developed countries will help developing or underdeveloped countries. This is the equitable benefits. So basically, this resolution not only prioritizes inclusivity and equitable development, it also strategically positions China as an important player in global trade and technology standards. So both of these resolutions, they are linked to each other with their country's interest, and they highlight a growing geopolitical contestation in the domain of digital governance. United Nations, this is emerging as a big forum and a highest forum for shaping and harmonizing global standards on artificial intelligence. This is not entirely expected given the impact of artificial intelligence on markets and even societies also. Today you see many of the area they are using artificial intelligence. Even ChatGPT has come based on the artificial intelligence. This United Nations, they offer inclusive platform to articulate the challenges. Even it reconciles diverse national interest and promote international cooperating mechanisms. India, if you see, India is an active and long-standing engagement at the United Nations. and strategic engagement at G20 group, even global partnership on artificial intelligence. It underscores India's role in United Nations. India, therefore, this can be a pivotal moment to seize the opportunity, even ensure this global digital compact, which will happen in 22nd, 23rd September. This will align with developmental priorities and even ethical standards also. What it will do, it bridges global digital divide and it meaningfully commits to interest of the global south. What do you mean by global south? Those countries which are below equator or below, those countries that are ruler of the colonies and underdeveloped developing countries, they come under global south. India has a deep historical legacy and influence at the United Nations. India championed the issue of global south several times. You can see there are several evidences are there. International climate negotiations, India told common but differentiated responsibilities. Even India advocated principle of equity, climate justice on the basis of this global climate action. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, during that time India told there are developed countries who utilized all these technologies during industrial revolution, but these developed countries didn't even acquire independence at that time. Now it is a time that developed countries help developing countries by incorporating principles such as equity and climate justice, so that these developing countries can go at par or on par with these developed countries. India always positions itself as a key player in climate negotiations following this United Nations General Assembly Resolution 44. What is this resolution? This gave rise to one important area. This is called common but differentiated responsibilities. What do you mean by common but differentiated responsibilities? Every country has responsibilities. Everything is common, but it should be in differentiated manner. Developing countries, they should contribute less, whereas developed countries, they should contribute more. According to this 2015, we have Paris Climate Change Agreement, and then every country, all the countries should pledge almost about $100 billion for promoting climate friendly technologies. Even India led significant efforts to shape United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Kyoto Protocol. This ensured developing countries like India, they are not subjected to obligations not aligned with development plans and priorities. Even India emphasized need for technology transfer, financial support from developed countries also. What is India's diplomatic weight on this artificial intelligence governance? See, India played a pivotal role in forming coalitions of developing countries to ensure their perspectives are adequately represented throughout the negotiations. India created Green Group Alliance. This is 72 like-minded developing countries at conference of parties under United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change. So basically, these 72 like-minded developing countries, they demand for stringent commitments from the developed countries. Even India worked closely with Brazil, South Africa, China to form this basic group. So this basic group will safeguard developmental and poverty reduction objectives in the 2000s. India even continues this trend of active participation, Paris climate change. Even this thing even reaffirmed at recent Dubai summit. What it told in Dubai summit, fair terms and obligations that will be considered varied capabilities and needs for developing countries. India's history of leading global south negotiations, along with unique challenges it faces, it will position India as an important contender in debates around this artificial intelligence. As a global south country, India grapples with structural inequalities in the artificial intelligence innovation landscape. What are all the structural inequalities? This advanced computing infrastructure is not available, high quality data sets not available, even capital also. Just as India advocated differential needs and responsibilities in climate agreement, it must do the same thing during AI governance also, so that equity, accessibility, fairness reflects in this artificial intelligence governance. India succeeded in registering these considerations on the international fora. This can be seen in G20, New Delhi Leaders Declaration, even GPII ministerial declarations also. Under India's leadership, G20, GPAI, they have underscored importance of fair access to critical artificial intelligence resources. Even India emphasized equitable sharing of artificial intelligence benefits, mitigated risk while strengthening international cooperation. It is crucial for India to voice these concerns at United Nations. India has this unique legitimacy with universal membership and a well established framework because United Nations, they have all these frameworks of rule of law, United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Sustainable Development Goals. These things will offer clear pathway to accountability. So India must utilize these platforms. India is skilled at building coalitions, even advancing first principles. They prioritize interest of the global south. By leveraging United Nations platform, India can amplify its existing efforts on wider scale and it can ensure voices of these developing countries are heard. India should push for more equitable access to artificial intelligence technology, even building technical capacity, creating institutional mechanism for knowledge sharing. These things will ensure that all countries can harness the benefits of artificial intelligence. India can use opportunity to redefine multi-stakeholder model. This will include a more inclusive development. This will include voices from the global south, particularly those from marginalized and underrepresented countries. There are platforms accessible to smaller non-governmental organizations, small and medium enterprises, groups. Otherwise, they lack resources to participate in these global discussions. In addition, India should also advocate more comprehensive and inclusive approach to this artificial intelligence governance. This will respect human rights. They will align with existing international laws and standards, and this will ensure artificial intelligence systems are designed to be inclusive, fair, representative of diverse global perspective. How to address these challenges? India's advocacy for this fair and inclusive artificial intelligence governance, it is very crucial in the context of bipolar dynamics. This is always played between United States of America and China. Both countries, they want to become leaders in this artificial intelligence governance, so they are pursuing their strategic interest. So the risk sidelining the unique needs and perspective of this global south. The wide gaps between developed and developing countries, this is very evident in realm of artificial intelligence advancements. Why? Because developed countries, they have huge resources, financial resources and all. While developed countries, they have resources, developing countries even lack basic infrastructure, internet access, electricity also. These are absolute essentials in case of artificial intelligence advancements. Addressing these challenges, they require localized understanding and approach. This will be overlooked or simplified by unfamiliar with the specific context. These things will result in policies and frameworks. This will fail to address root issues faced by these developing countries, then limit the effectiveness of global artificial intelligence governance initiative, and it will complicate existing inequalities. India's historical legacy of advocating the interest of global south, robust engagement at international fora, even a lived experience at global south country make India as a well positioned to lead all these conversations. It's India's active engagement not only advance interest but also contribute towards balanced and sustainable digital future. So this is good article about artificial intelligence and how India should discourse on this. Next article we will discuss about carbon trading system. This article is taken from Live Mint. First thing, what is this carbon credit term? Carbon credit means metric ton of carbon emissions that can be avoided by completing activity in less carbon intensive way. Suppose say you want to produce something, you want to manufacture petrol, you want to produce petroleum. For producing petroleum you need to emit lot of the gases. So what you will do, you will reduce the less carbon dioxide gases by doing efficient technologies. So there will be carbon credits will be available to you. These credits will be registered with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency and they can be sold to other parties if you are exceeding the targets. This is the carbon credit term. So basically why we are discussing all these things? Finance Minister in recent budget 24-25, she gave that carbon credit trading scheme CCTS, this would soon be implemented in India. What is this? This would be important development. This would put as a select group of countries that have introduced similar schemes to reduce emissions. Who are this selected group of countries? European Union, United Kingdom, China, Indonesia, South Korea, Australia. All these things have already implemented this CCTS, carbon credit trading scheme. This carbon credit trading scheme, alternative to this carbon tax, the tax basically operates through prices. They raise the cost of fossil fuels. This reduces use, therefore, reduction in the emissions. CCTS directly on the quantity of emissions by setting limit on the emissions allowed per unit of the output. Suppose one industry producing 100 units, they have to produce 100 carbon equivalents. They cannot produce more than that. If they produce, then they have to buy trading certificates. This is what CCTS is related. Even economists agree that this carbon tax, this should be the preferred instrument because it has huge political support. It is directly affecting all producers and rising cost. When it comes to CCTS, it is kind of politically acceptable, but it is limited to larger units and small units will be left outside the ambit. And those who are producing a higher cost of goods, the units will be like, whatever they will be imposed on the cost, it will be passed on to the consumers. Ultimately, one crucial component of this carbon credit trading scheme, it is trading of carbon credits. Those producers that emit less than what they are allowed to receive carbon credits, they can be sold to whom they find very costly to reduce their emissions to the required level. The ability to trade credits increases the efficiency of the system. Price of the carbon credits that emerges from the system would reflect lower cost of reducing emissions across all entities. This will lead to saving environment. Even production technologies also become very efficient. For this carbon credit trading scheme to be a major step towards decarbonizing the economy, it is very important to properly design this. Bureau of Energy Efficiency, this will administer this CCTS system, and then it is tasked with developing the design also. If you see Bureau of Energy Efficiency, they have already experienced in perform, achieve, trade scheme. What is this? This is scheme designed to improve energy efficiency. This is advantage, but the demands from CCTS will be much more complex. PAT is very simple scheme, but CCTS is much more complex. BE has to take all the consideration while doing. In this article, author has given 6 critical areas that can be addressed for this CCTS to be made more successful. The first thing he talks about how to determine emission allowance for each unit. Suppose say you are bringing several units, how to determine. This task is given to National Steering Committee. This will be chaired by Power and Environment Secretaries, representatives from key ministries, central agencies, even some states also. Committee will establish principles to be used making this decision. They mostly prefer bottom-up approach. This is the optimal. This will give emission allowance for each entity on approximate basis, and it will become common carbon tax to all entities covered. So for this to happen, committee should be advised by technical teams drawn from these research institutions. They have the capability of modeling, responding, even different industrial units also. They should also consult representative from private and public sector in each industry because they will have the different views. What happens when different views? They will help and the policy will become more inclusive. Second thing, what author talks about, coverage of CCTS. Who are the industries that need to be covered under this CCTS? So at present it is proposed to cover large producers such as iron and steel, cement, petrochemicals, pulp, even paper industries also. Power industry, it is not expected, but it is not covered yet. Even fertilizer sector is also excluded, which is very logical. Why? Because fertilizer sector, there are emissions are less, but they are, less compared to other sectors. Why power sector is not covered? Power sector, there are one scheme called renewable purchase obligations. This discom companies are, where distribution companies are there, they need to purchase electricity through renewable resources from other side. So this will increase, renewable energy sharing capacity in the energy mix also. This may work well for a while, but in the future, this is not most cost-effective way to cut emissions. It does not ensure the cost of reducing emissions in power generations. It will be aligned with other sectors also. The problem this could be solved if power sector could be brought under this CCTS, which would be soon done as soon as possible. Even third thing, India has ambitious target to become net zero by 2070. Hence, the emission allowance for each industry should be reduced over time in line with this objective. Suppose say now 2024, by 2040, most of the countries might be reaching towards net zero, but how the countries are proceeding in this direction? So every year there should be emission allowance reduction mechanism should be also taken care of. Fourth issue, whether this CCTS should be designed to generate revenue like carbon tax. What is like carbon tax? Whenever you sell these carbon tax, suppose say some industry produces a lot of carbon dioxide, some industry produces the same units but less carbon dioxide. So they will have this credit, they will sell on the platform, they will gain the money. So this is related to carbon tax. They will generate a lot of revenue also. What it will do with this revenue model? This is possible if emission allowances are auctioned. When you auction them on a platform, this revenue can be utilized for finance, climate related expenditure. Even this revenue can be used to replace loss of tax revenues that is expected fossil fuels because they will be phased out slowly. We can follow European Union practice, start with free allowances, then we can move off auctioning, increasing proportion of allowances over time. Even Finance Commission could be asked to recommend the way of sharing revenue from this source between center and state also. Fifth aspect, what we need to see is the design is to ensure CCTS can help shield our exports from carbon border adjustment taxes that European Union plan to phase it from 2026. European Union, they are planning this carbon border adjustment taxes. What is this carbon border adjustment taxes? Those units that are not following this carbon border adjustment taxes, they will not be taken as a imports. This will impact our export capacity also. We need to assure that by introducing CCTS itself, we can generate a lot of carbon reduction strategies. We should make a case that introduction of this CCTS is indication of our seriousness in accepting our mitigation obligation. But developing countries should be allowed to have lower carbon price than the developed countries. Even International Monetary Fund staff paper, they told carbon price in lower middle income countries such as India, even African countries, it should be 1/3 of the carbon price in advanced countries, European Union, United States. While upper middle income countries, it should be 2/3. Basically 100 rupees are there. India should be paying 33.3 rupees. China should be paying 66.6 rupees. America should pay full pay. We have traditionally opposed this differentiation among developing countries, but differentiation based on per capita income is logical and we should push for it. Our per capita income is very low when compared to other countries also. Sixth aspect, what author says, this CCTS need to be accepted. The new system will increase production cost and sector covered until low carbon technologies become cheaper than fossil fuel based options. So this should be accepted standards for like till it become low cost. We need to follow this polluter pays principle. Higher cost will be need to passed on these end consumers. So this will be done to power sector also, because even though we are attempting to use this renewable purchase obligation, but it can be included under CCTS also. There will be a political compulsions to reduce the prices of household electricity tariffs, but we should not go down. We should increase the taxes so that even though electricity tariff is coming, government should bring some certain incentives so that the benefit to these industries will go on. Suppose say this power issuing discoms, distribution companies, when you increase the taxes, then but you don't want to increase the electricity prices, this will make that the supply of electricity will be erratic, and then there will be a lot of transmission losses. All these things will be there. So what author says is a reasonable medium term goal would have full effective system in place before 2035. So all these things need to be considered to make CCTS as a powerful design system. Next article, it is about rising income inequality. This article basically written by Sam Pitroda. He is advisor to Congress from international overseas area. Recently in parliamentary elections also he made racial comments. Even he made comments on income inequalities also. This became huge debate. But he published one article today on income inequality. We don't go in politics, but we will discuss. This is a good article from income point of view. See, what he says, income inequality is a global challenge. It is complex and multifaceted endeavor because examining, trying, implementing several different strategies to find a suitable way to increase more equitable society is the need of the hour. So how we can do? First thing, we can impose progressive taxation. Why progressive taxation? Those who are getting a lot of income, tax can be imposed on them. Those tax can be distributed to wealth, and then it can be directed towards marginalized and poor people so that health, education, skill development, environment and job creation can happen. Second area, what he says, education and skill development, we need to focus them. Access to quality education, skill development, even lifelong learning is critical to enhance employability, even increase revenue also. Fair labor laws are very, very important. Enforcing labor rights, minimum wages, safety, security, eliminating child labor, protection against exploitation, collective bargaining, they are essential to ensure that all workers benefit from economic growth. Fourth area is shares investment in infrastructure. What happens when you do investment in infrastructure? This will reduce regional disparities. They will assure this inclusion, even sustainability also. It is very critical to invest in infrastructure that is related to environment, water, sanitation, forest, energy, climate change, housing and transportation also. Fifth area, contribution of super rich. There are super rich individuals such as Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. They gave a global campaign. What is that? Giving pledge. They should donate more than half of their wealth in order to benefit the public. This is what, contribution by super rich. If you see 2023, more than 235 super rich people in 28 countries, they have committed almost $600 billion for public good. Even many advanced countries, they have special inheritance tax. Japan 55% is there, South Korea 50% is there, France 45%, United States even 40%. So they will transfer wealth to, before they are transferring their wealth to next generation, this much of wealth will be paid to the community basically. But it will be applying to only super rich and those who are having large asset transfers. This tax has been proposed by several people in the past in India. Basically he proposed, even after that several Congress people also proposed. The World Inequality Lab says in India almost the share of 1% of national income is among the highest in the world, and even World Inequality Lab, it says that India today is more unequal as a society than it was under British rule. Whether it is acceptable? What about inclusion and equity? This is not debate about inclusion, equity when it comes to introducing tax to middle class, the rich or super rich. It is about, resourcing, locating the resources needed to lift millions more out of the property, even joblessness also. To do this, there are ways to encourage value addition through education, production, efficiency, quality consumption, as well as inclusion, sustainability, dignity and justice. The need for analysis and debate, not for inventing falsehood of cost to scarce. India already lifted millions out of poverty. Garibi Hatao, this kind of scheme, they lifted millions out of poverty. But what it has done simply not enough. More needs to be done with brave and bold initiative that copycat solutions this will not achieve. New economies is all about moving from economies of scope and scale to economy of purpose. This purpose should be inclusion, equity, sustainability to lift millions out of the poverty. Discussion on fiscal and other measures should be taken in this context. What are the strategies that India can follow so that that can create resilience in this uncertain time? So there is no silver bullet, none is suggested. There are several things India need to follow. The need for reflection and policy framework. So that policy should ensure growth, justice, hope, and it should debate on every possible options available through learning from global experience, and it should draw on India's creative and innovative abilities. Even some continue to see globalization, market liberalizations. They are silver bullets rather than as a strategies. They demand capacities for vigilance and constant mid-course corrections. If you see in global area, turmoil in this global market, basically stock market, COVID-19 pandemic, wars in Europe, in West Asia, they will all remain. Globalization has huge price. If you see Middle East, there will be always geopolitical wars. This will escalate crude oil prices and ultimately impacts in India with inflation. What author says is, we have to follow Gandhian model of development. This will focus on decentralization, local needs, local talent, local resources, local production. Small is beautiful. This makes huge sense in hyper-connected world in order to ensure local employment and prosperity in India. Investment in small and medium enterprises, local innovations, it is very critical to network to scale for global markets. Unfortunately, banks prefer large loans to big companies, but when it comes to small medium enterprises, they won't offer loans. This must change with this digital technology to finance services. India has almost 800 districts. They have unique climate, natural resources, capabilities. Even these 800 districts have talent to build 800 production centers with variety of goods and services. That means these 800 digital platforms can be created so that supply chain networks, logistics, markets, distribution centers, these all things can be created. So what about India's futures? Future of jobs, even in this artificial intelligence dominated world, they come from many of the areas which are well known. Food, education, health services, tourism, manufacturing. In fact, India's young talent is workforce for the world also. The issue is assessing the progress in terms of human and technology development, a new economic model based on decentralization, digital platforms. This will need network needs and consumption patterns, behaviors, all these things need to be controlled. The future of India definitely lies in new tech economic model. This will deliver inclusion, basic human needs, decentralization, conservation, even non-violence also. The future also lies in change in lifestyle. This will value happiness from sharing and caring as opposed to this vulgarity of conspicuous consumption. We should see sharing and caring happening at the good level. So this human development indicators, all these things will prosper if we reduce income inequality. That's what author wants to say. Today we discussed 3 articles. Thank you very much for discussion.